Rick, it's great to see you.
Hey, good morning, Keith. Nice to see you too, brother.
Oh, thank you. I want to talk about accepting and resisting. So, the title of this episode is The Unexpected Benefits of You Accepting Instead of Resisting. So, I'll kick it off, Rick, if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
Okay, great. Most recently I was tasked with a new responsibility in my work at Mayo Clinic. It's something that I hadn't been asked to do before, over 3 or 4 years in this particular role. And so I made a whole story about it. It wasn't a long story, but it was still a story that demonstrated that I still had more work to do when the person that I reported up to uh, uh, gave me a directive. And the directive was to manage all the projects within our group. And I have a narrative or had a narrative that this person's leadership style is more around delegation as opposed to partnership. I think they feel like it's partnership, or they think that the way that they lead is partnership. For me, it feels different. And I have to remind myself that however they lead, that's how they lead. What I want to do is learn how to be able to handle how they lead. And what I mean by handle it is not manipulate it, not control it, but instead learn how to let go of my lower self that's having a problem with it. And if I can do that, then I really mitigate any kind of suffering that might come with resisting. So in this particular case, when they came down and they told me this during a meeting, little Keith 1.0, not 2.0, was the one who heard that request. It wasn't a request, it was a directive. And when he heard it, his response was, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. My job is to follow. You're the leader. I'll follow you. Not the best response. It's not exactly a 5-year-old throwing a tantrum, but it may be a 7-year-old, right, who's not fully into it. Like, absolutely, I'm happy to do it. I'm interested in learning something new. So it took me a little bit, but I knew that this was my work because even at that mild, modest 7-year-old resistance was still enough to cause me suffering. And I didn't need any more than that. I wasn't the 5-year-old who's throwing a tantrum and then calling everybody else back, telling him about this leadership style that I can't work with. I didn't do that. So it was a little better than that. But for me, there was still some kind of suffering inside. So as I became aware of what I was doing, I started to think about, okay, find some software that will help you manage these projects. You can learn something new. And I immediately jumped into action because what acceptance allows you to do, it allows you to jump into productive, constructive action that has the potential to be a win-win for everyone else. And so I got the software, Microsoft Planner, along the way, really understanding that there's going to be learning curves from trying to get authorization to use the software, as well as all the other things that I had to learn how to do in terms of adding groups, adding people to teams, assigning tasks, all the things. But fortunately, I found a tutorial and I went to work on it. And in doing so, there was all these benefits that came with it. One, I was able to exercise a growth mindset. I was able to activate some neuroplasticity, which means that the brain is learning something new and creating new neural pathways. So I was able to do that. I mean, those are some of the physiological and cognitive benefits of it. But what was even better is I was creating a new groove within my consciousness of deepening acceptance, which was great. And now people are calling me like, how do you do planner? Like, how do you manage projects? How do you do all these things? And I'm able to say, well, here's how you do it. I'm able to assign tasks and really be on top of everything that we're doing. And while I didn't set out to have this be something that would benefit me in at other stages of my career, it's likely to do just that. I will likely be asked to do something else, whether it's at Mayo Clinic or something else in my life that requires that kind of management skill. And I'll have this in my back pocket. So this is one of the unexpected benefits of accepting instead of resisting. And then lastly, I have a better relationship with the people that ask me to do something. And then I'll tell one more example. A few years ago, there was someone at Mayo Clinic and a newer surgeon. who came in and they were talking to our good friend John about they understood that laparoscopically that he was an excellent surgeon. I mean, the top 1% in the skill set he had. But now they're transitioning over the last several years to robotics. And so a lot of these surgeons who are coming out of residency programs right now, they are so great just using robots to do surgery. And so this is a skill that when John was training, they didn't have. They weren't developing. I mean, the technology wasn't there. And so it was the younger surgeon almost made it seem like the more mature surgeons were out of step, outdated, and that this is a new way it's going. And initially, I think John resisted that. You know, he was it didn't land on him well. But we started talking about it and talking about it, and he started to accept it. And now he is blowing through robotics. He is so good, Rick, at doing this. And he's also found the benefits in some ways and how this is actually better for the patient in some cases. But so now he has both skill sets. And that's one of the benefits of accepting, unexpected benefits of accepting rather than resisting. Rick, I'll just pause there and see what your thoughts are.
Oh, Keith, I love both of those examples. That's so cool. I guess the focus I have on listening to both of those examples is the power of the unexpected, right? It's the power of being open and receptive and not fighting something new. I think that's always the case with us. We prefer what's familiar to what's foreign, and we prefer what we're good at to what we have to learn. But if we can make that jump, if we can get into the point of view like you did, where this is an opportunity for me to explore something brand new, that openness, that receptivity, that idea that it could be great, can it can change your whole perception of it. How did you come to the point where you made that change? I mean, did you have to fight with yourself to say, now wait a minute, I'm going to not fight this, I'm going to throw myself in with both feet? Did you still resist and then found a little bit of comfort as you went, and then that turned out the floodgates, so it really became a cool thing to do? How did you overcome it? I'm thinking of myself in tech, for example, and if you were coaching me, oh, Rick, it's going to be great once you get to the other side. How do you get to the other side where you're receptive enough to try something new?
Well, for me, as most things are in terms of being asked to do something that my mind says I don't want to do or I can't do, I understand that that kind of attitude just causes me suffering. And first and foremost, I want inner peace. I over everything else, Rick, that is the most important thing to me is to experience inner peace. And so I am able to, they say if you want to go to California, you don't take the road that leads you to Texas, you take the road that leads to California. And so if I want inner peace, resistance is not the road I take. Acceptance is the road I take. And if I can take some intelligent action, which in this case, the intelligent action was just taking step one is just trying to find out, and I did a Google search on what are the best projects. I mean, what's the best software to manage projects? And then step two was, is there anything that Mayo Clinic has a license for that I can use that's already available to us without any extra cost? And I was able to, satisfactorily get answers to both of those. And then the next step was, okay, I'm learning something new. Start with step one. Start step one. Open the software, and I didn't make a big deal out of it. And I didn't make a big deal. I didn't make a big deal that it was going to solve the problem. I just like there's a bigger thing that I'm working on here. This task that I've been asked to perform is secondary. What's primary is me not suffering. And the key to me not suffering here is to practice acceptance. And so finding the right software, learning the tool and utilizing it the way that I wanted to was all secondary. So that's what I did first. So in the case with you with technology, I would just say yes to it. I would say things like up until now, technology and I didn't get along. Up until now. But now we're going to create a new relationship with technology. And I'm just going to take it one by one. And every time I get frustrated, I'm just going to laugh and be like, yep, that's got to go. Not the technology, not the remote control, not the device, my ability to be frustrated by it is going to have to go because of course I'm not good at this. I've never used it before. You know, I mean, if you take the founding fathers of this country and you put them into a car right now, they'd be like, "What is going on here?" I mean, they'd have no idea what was going on, and they shouldn't, right? They've never been in a car, you know, and so this technology that we have at our fingertips right now to really have the same kind of approach to that, like of wonder and again, being able to utilize the technology is secondary. The primary thing is to remove the blockages within yourself that react negatively to the prospect of using technology. Is that helpful?
Oh my God, I'm going to put that into action this afternoon. In fact, I've been taping these words as you're speaking. I love that idea. You know, part of it is that I didn't want to forgive myself for not knowing it, right? I mean,
Yeah,
we,
totally.
we get to the point where we think we should, and that's really a terrible place to be. We should fill in the blank.
Right.
I should know how to use this. I should know how to set up a brand new desktop. I should, and you go down that road. And that's more frustrating, or as much frustrating, as not having the tools, the intellectual ideas, or the experience of knowing how to do it properly. That makes you want to shut the whole thing down and run away. So thank you, Keith. That's a beautiful way of going. And this is the kind of thing that I love about you. You've been through so much and you've learned so many things on your own, often the hard way. And it's so helpful to me to see what you've done as an example from my own life and trying to be better and trying to be more competent and trying to be more focused on inner peace and less on beating myself up for things I could solve if I just tried.
Right. Yeah, absolutely, Rick. No, you're so welcome, and thank you for the kind words. I just add one more thing to this from a practical standpoint is don't make getting it becoming an expert, at the first pass part of the goal with something that is new to you or that in the past you've had difficulty, trying to interact with. Instead, what I do is I would say, I'm going to work on this for 5 to 10 minutes, do the best I can, reading instructions and figuring this out or using YouTube to get videos before I call IT or tech support. Like that way you kind of, really exercise critical thinking and strengthening that muscle and problem solving on your own. And then the next time you have something, you will go 11 minutes and then you'll go 12 minutes. Before you know it, you've really kind of developed this capacity to really think through things, even when the instructions may be terrible or you can't find the right video, you just kind of stay with it a little bit longer. And that's the primary thing that you want to work on, as opposed to, oh, wow, I figured it out. That's secondary. The first thing is what's more important to me. So thank you, Rick. I love you.
I love you, Keith. Great show. Appreciate the help.
Thank you.